Now, Thomas Friedman wrote a piece about the Biden boom. That's what it's being called. It hasn't happened yet, but the potential for it to happen, that's what's driving Mitch McConnell crazy. The potential for it to happen is poised and ready to go. An economic boom in this country after being held back for this year and after nothing happening for the 4 years that this filthy pig Donald Trump was the so-called president, and the 4 years spread over the 4, 6, 8 years prior to that when Barack Obama was president, and the goddamn turtle and the rest of these Christian fascists refused to do anything to help this country improve or advance because, there was a color guy president. Can't have that, you son of a bitches. But the Biden boom is what Friedman calls it. And I like his first sentence here. Here's what he said. After our presidential election, I wrote that what had just happened felt to me as if Lady Liberty had been crossing Fifth Avenue when out of nowhere a crazy guy driving a bus ran a red light. Thankfully, Lady Liberty leapt out of the way barely in time, and now she's sitting on the curb, her heart pounding, just glad to be alive. But she knows just how narrowly she escaped. That's a fairly good metaphor for what happened under this scum, filthy Donald Trump. And Friedman mentions that he had hoped that once Biden took charge as president, that the anxiety over how close we came to losing this democracy would fade. But it hasn't. Not for Friedman, not for me. As a matter of fact, my anxiety about how close we are to losing this whole goddamn promise of democracy, my fear about that, my anxiety about that is at a higher level now that Biden is in office. Because now the potential for more of these gutless little cowards, son of a bitches with their guns and their phony fucking military uniforms to go storming around the country has increased. Because they don't want to see success. These are people, these militia types and these cucumbers and the rest of these racist bastards, these are people who thrive on destruction and disease and disaster and dead shit and rotting things. These are not people who want to build and create. These are people who want to destroy and rot. And I had no idea there were so many millions of them who are loose in this country, who are hell-bent on destroying anything and everything they even get close to. But Friedman writes, just listen to Donald Trump or Senator Ron Johnson or Fox News whitewashing the ransacking of the Capitol as a Republican white boys picnic that just got a little rowdy. Listen to Trump's former lawyer, Sidney Powell, trying to escape a lawsuit by arguing that no serious person would have believed her claims that Dominion voting systems machines had helped to perpetrate a stolen election. And then just watch here, Georgia legislature pass a measure supposedly designed to prevent the very fraud that Sidney Powell now says never happened by creating obstacles here in Georgia for black voters, even making it a crime for anyone to serve water to someone waiting hours in a voting line. End quote, Thomas Friedman. I mean, this is why I feel more anxiety now. Because the country has been so gerrymandered, so twisted into a political shape that makes no sense. The majority of people in this country are not Christian fascists. The majority of people in this country are not members of the zombie Republican Party. The majority of people in this country do want to see this country move forward. And yet the political power in so many instances around the country is in the death grip of these Christian fascist Nazis. I mean, call them anything you want. That's my favorite term. Christian fascists. They're about death and destruction. They're about decay. They're about bringing everything to a rotting halt. So yeah, that crazy bus driver is still out there. The one Friedman wrote about. And Lady Liberty is still in danger of being crushed. Yeah. And Friedman mentioned in that piece that instead of the Republicans sitting down after the election and resolving something like this, quote, let's complete a bridge to the votes of a diverse 21st century America, where a Republican message of immigration reform, plus pro-business, plus pro-law and order, plus pro-smaller government ideas could win. Instead of that, the Republican Party, the zombie party that is now the Christian Fascist Party, has decided to burn down any piece of that so-called bridge and compete only for a white-dominated 20th century America. You know, the 20th century is over. And white domination, whether you see that as a good thing, a bad thing, a neutral thing, a bullshit thing, a whatever thing, listen, it's coming to an end. And doesn't it make sense that white people in this country could accept the reality of demographics, could accept the reality of a global community and face it and say, okay, we're going to work with the people who are going to be in charge. It may take 30 or 40 or 50 years, but it's going to happen. Isn't that what we should be doing? White people should be doing instead of continuing the oppression and suppression and the denying of legal rights, education rights, worker rights, climate rights, all the things that are necessary for this country if it's ever going to reach what the framers promised us. I'll answer my own question. Yeah, it makes a hell of a lot more sense. So why aren't we doing that? You've got to ask yourself that question. All of us do. Why aren't we taking the steps necessary to move this country forward, to provide for everybody in this country? I wish I knew the answer. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.